Hello, 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 my friends. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are in the world. If you are here, as always, please kindly drop a like, say hello so I know that you're present, and yeah, just let me know that you're here. As always, we're going to do a quick live, discuss a little what's going on in the markets, what I'm up to. As always, I usually do these lives right after I publish a market update and my analysis and my insights on the market on Patreon. So if you want to join, you can join here and read the update that was published just now. Uh, there it is. Yeah. So you can follow that link and join the Patreon. Let's talk about in brief what's going on in the market. So we are in accumulation phase. If you've been following me for years, you know more or less how I go about these things. For me, Bitcoin, whenever it drops roughly 50% to back in the 80%, but since there are diminishing crashes, it's now 70%. So after Bitcoin drops 50% to 70% from its all-time high, that's the macro accumulation phase for me when it comes to Bitcoin. Bitcoin has dropped 50%. In fact, it has dropped 55%. So I have started dollar cost averaging at new lows, diversifying and buying and holding. So I'm currently 50% in the market, and the other 50% will be laddered in and added at new lows, roughly with equal amounts of money, into several different coins. One thing I have publicly mentioned is that my biggest holdings will be Bitcoin, XRP, and Ethereum. As the market basically starts recovering and the bottom for Bitcoin comes in, and we see that there's an obvious reversal, I will start buying more alts, and probably so altogether 50% will be in Bitcoin, 50% will be in various different alts at the end. I'll be adding only what I consider to be quality alts, a few gambles here and there with small percentages, but gambles are gambles. That's what it is, right? So if you're ever buying basically small caps or mid caps, as I've been saying for years, make sure you only do that with 10% of your portfolio at best. If you ever have very high risk tolerance, 15% is max, but 10% is what I would recommend. And then 50% Bitcoin and the other remaining 40% basically into quality alts like Ethereum, XRP, and other altcoins out there. So it's important to talk about also not just Bitcoin, but I also want to talk about XRP. XRP is also an accumulation zone. It has dropped 70%. For me, 70 to 80% crash is the accumulation zone for XRP. So from $1, roughly $1, it doesn't need to be exactly $1. It's currently $1.06. So we are there. So roughly $1 to 70 cents is the accumulation zone for me for XRP this cycle. XRP has been following the same trend as Bitcoin. With every single cycle, the crashes are becoming smaller, the crashes are diminishing, and with every single cycle, ROI is diminishing. But it is with every cycle, mostly outperforming Bitcoin. But crash-wise, if you're on my Patreon, you know exactly what I'm referring to. It's mimicking what Bitcoin does a cycle later. So it's something you should look into. Once again, it's my Patreon if you want to check it out. So here I am, basically 50% of the market, accumulating XRP and Bitcoin for the most part, waiting for fresh flows. As always, I share my signals when I'm buying, share the screenshots. And as always, I'll be sharing what I'm selling, just like I did near the top at roughly 110,000 Bitcoin when I sold 90% of my portfolio and got out of the market before everything crashed and we started buying an accumulation zone. There's not much to talk about. I ignore the news. I make sure that they don't scare me. We are getting the right sentiment. There's FUD again. Exchanges are going down. Exchanges are shutting down. That's it's not good in the sense that it's not good for the people that are on these exchanges. Make sure you get your funds out and stay safe. But I mean, it's good in terms of market sentiment because these are the kind of news we want to see come in after Bitcoin has crashed 55% and altcoins have crashed as much as 70 to 80%. Now we are in accumulation zone, basically dollar cost averaged at new lows without trying to catch the bottom. Our main goal is buy low, sell high. And it's as simple as that. If we look at what has happened since 2010, we can see basically there are certain trends that indicate that Bitcoin has to crush roughly 65% from its all-time high in order for the bottom to be in. And time frame wise, we're not quite there yet. So we are in the accumulation zone. Like I said, that's why I'm 50% in the market. And that's why I'm still 50% out of the market because my rules are wait for big crashes, start dollar cost averaging at new lows and diversifying and holding. That's it. And wait for the cycle to develop and start taking profits. Here we are. Hi, everyone. I can see everybody saying hi. Uh, I don't know why everything is being translated, but okay, I guess it's some new feature that I need to change. But hi, everyone. How are you doing, guys? It's very good to see you here. Thank you for saying hi. Ahmed, Iron, Johnny, uh, American Phoenix. It's great to see you here, guys. Thank you very much for joining. Please put a like and share the live. So I think basically what's going on is it's quite simple. Regular market behavior. Back in 2022, I've posted this several times on Twitter and covered it back when we're near the top, talking about certain red flags going off and why it might be time to get out of the market before we did. So far until they stop working, roughly 4-year cycles are working. That's how back in 2022, I was able to predict that Bitcoin will top in roughly October 2025 at approximately $126,000. That tweet is on Twitter. You can see the date and everything that's there, right? We're using the same method for this cycle. We used the same method for the cycle before that, and we're going to keep using it until it stops working. It's been working fairly well so far. In fact, it's been working like clockwork, right? So in accordance with this method, once again, we know it's time to accumulate without going all in. These things are for newcomers. You don't have to be all in. You don't have to be hell-bent on being bearish. You don't have to be hell-bent on being bullish. You just wait for big crashes, dollar cost average, and diversify, right? That's all it takes. Of course, it takes patience, because unfortunately, when it's time to buy, the crowds are gone. Nobody's interested. Like if you check Google Trends, you'll see that, everybody, like nobody cares about crypto, basically. Nobody's Googling Bitcoin. It's at near its all-time lows. Nobody cares about XRP. Nobody cares about Ethereum. Nobody cares about altcoins. Basically, nobody cares about our industry in particular. So that's a good indicator, because we know that's the sentiment we want to see when we are buying, right? When it's the macro accumulation phase. That is good. In fact, if we see some more, like if we crash further in Q4 this year or Q1 next year, and we crash roughly 65% and the bottom comes in somewhere there, and we have some terrible sentiment, that would be the perfect scenario. It's not a given. It's not a must. We don't need it. It's not something that needs to happen, because we did top without euphoria. We topped basically without any excitement. So the bottom can come in without any fear. That's possible. But I'm happy to see, once again, that all these scary narratives are coming in after 55% Bitcoin crash and a 72% XRP crash, 72.5 to be precise. Bratton, I don't know, before, because I used to live in Moscow, everything's being translated into Russian, so I'll make sure I change this. It's not translating very well, so if I understand exactly what we're talking about, is the Clarity Act. In terms of Clarity Act, I think long-term, of course, it's a good thing. I think long-term is going to help the crypto industry to develop, but I don't think it's something that's going to market bottom, send everything flying. It might temporarily cause a reaction where there's some kind of bounce and everybody gets very hyped up and excited. But then it depends on when it happens. If it happens now, that bounce will probably retrace and go back down. But if it's somewhere near the bottoming phase and the Bitcoin is already down 65%, roughly, give or take, it might be 66% to 67%. And, XRP is hovering somewhere between 70 cents and $1. And we're in Q4, like at the end of Q4 this year, then basically it will make more sense. And, I think the market will start recovering. But the point I'm trying to make here, it doesn't matter, right? It does not matter short term. It's not something that the market is going to react to in a meaningful way. But long term, of course, it's good for the industry if they finally give, send out clear messages there, make certain laws, tell us what's legal, illegal, what can be done, what can be done. Because unfortunately, we still have problems. We have a lot of problems in that regard, right? That's why to this day, unfortunately, banks very often, when they see crypto transactions, they simply see accumulating, buying, or withdrawing crypto to your bank account. Very often, they'll freeze your account or block it. There have been occasions I've spoken to people. There have been clients at banks like HSBC or other banks where they've been clients for over 10 years, sometimes nearly 2 decades. sometimes 15, 16 years, and they just basically block their accounts for life, and there's no explanation, but it's very evident what it is. People started withdrawing crypto, right? So that's that. I think what's very important is to concentrate on the numbers. As always, the numbers say basically it's time to accumulate, be patient, and dollar cost average at new lows without trying to catch the bottom. Now, of course, we're going to be talking about the bottom because it's important for us to simply understand where we are in the market cycle. It helps us to understand how far are we into the market cycle, and when is a good time to buy or hold or sell. So of course we're going to talk about the bottom and whether or not it has come in. Same thing as like when we start topping, we're just like we did in the past, we'll talk about whether or not we have topped. I think the message, if I have to sum it up, and the message I'm sending out there is that I am accumulating after these crashes. I sold 90% of my portfolio near the top. And despite the last cycle being terrible, still one of the best performances. Unfortunately, many alts did not deliver. And I believe that's one of the main reasons why a lot of people have left the crypto space. They got disappointed. So instead, they started pumping precious metals like gold and silver, and even the stock market. So I believe at a certain point, probably this cycle, there will be a certain rotation. Of course, not into all altcoins. Some altcoins are dead and will never recover. That has been the case in every single cycle, but some altcoins will do well. And some of these altcoins that I'm willing to mention publicly are Ethereum and XRP. I don't think that there will be some crazy gains, but I think that the gains will be good if you're reasonable enough. And I believe some other altcoins will come in wake. And I basically do believe that it was this kind of mental trick that the market makers played on us to make sure that retail finally leaves crypto. I believe that's why, whoever basically makes all these shots, you call whatever you would call it, the fairy dust, magical theories out there, whatever. So basically, there was a reason why it was allowed to make so many changes, create so many coins, and dilute the space so heavily to the point where basically crypto just becomes 90% pump and dump, and there's no value. So I think there's a reason why that happened, and I hope that phase is over. And if it's not, it's going to end eventually. This basically wild west of crypto is going to end sooner or later. And the Clarity Act, I think, will be one of those drops in the ocean that we need in order for that to take place. So yeah, and I think certain altcoins will come in wake, but many will not. So that's exactly why I'm 50% of the Bitcoin this time around. The reason is quite simple. It is more predictable than most altcoins. So 50% Bitcoin, 50% in other altcoins. 10% will be high risk once we bottom, and 40% will be blue chip coins like XRP and Ethereum and other coins that are still being used. So make sure if you're buying anything accumulating after these crashes at new lows, make sure that the community is still around. Make sure that the coin is actually being used. Make sure that basically that coin is still trending, and make sure, for example, simply go on YouTube, go on X, Twitter, and make sure that there are content creators talking about these coins. That they basically make sure that the community is still alive, because one of the main indicators of a coin doing well or doing better than all other coins in the past has been whether or not the community is still alive, right? There are so many coins that we haven't heard of for like 8 years now. Sometimes, there are coins that have forever died that were very big and that were actually blue chip coins back in 2017 and 2018, right? So many newcomers right now would never even know these names, and that's it. They're gone. They'll never recover. Same thing will happen with coins from the last cycle that topped at 126K, and the same thing will happen with altcoins in this cycle. Of course, not all altcoins, but the majority of altcoins. So you have to be selective. You have to be careful. And one of the ways to play it safe is go 50% of the Bitcoin. Because if we look at the majority of altcoins out there, 99.99% of them have done worse than Bitcoin, and Bitcoin has been more predictable. Yes, there are altcoins, like I said, once again, like XRP and Ethereum, that have performed as well as Bitcoin or outperformed Bitcoin in terms of ROI. We're not talking about making new highs here. We're talking about ROI and the profit you make percentage-wise from bottom to the top. I think, Bratton, yes, I think that many coins will forever be gone, and I think that's a good thing. Once again, I think it's a good thing because we don't need, when I came into crypto, I from the top of my head, if I'm not mistaken, we had I don't want to lie, maybe around 1,000 coins, maybe. It was something like around 1,000 coins, I think, on CoinMarketCap, maybe a little bit more. Then eventually I remember it being like 7,000, 8,000. And at a certain point, like, of course, we don't have to look at all those like tiny coins out there with tiny market caps. But in general, they're like, you could say there are millions of coins out there. You could definitely say that there are hundreds of thousands of coins that are being tracked, and definitely, at least like 200,000 coins that are being tracked by CoinMarketCap and whatnot. And it's terrible. There's no need for it. We don't need this many coins. Most of these coins are absolutely. And like, if you're willing to gamble with 10% of your portfolio, once again, that is fine. But you have to understand that it's a high risk coin, high risk, high return. But high risk also means zero return, right? That's why it's very important to make sure that you hedge your bets by actually investing, right? And we know that actually investing in crypto for over a decade now has been buying Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, and there are some other blue chips that I'll be talking about on Patreon. So yeah, that's that. All right, my friends, we are 16 minutes in now. Thank you very much for joining. Please like and share this live. I've been getting messages, asking to do more lives, so I'll be doing more lives. I'll try to do like a short live here and there every other day, because people say many people don't want to read. Many people don't like reading, so they just prefer to hop on YouTube and listen to what I have to say, and they just basically, enjoy being part of the community. But if you do like reading, once again, make sure you join the Patreon. Link is here. What I'm doing and what my thoughts are and why I'm doing it. Otherwise, stay safe. Make sure, remember the rules, guys. Yeah. Never send your crypto to anyone ever. Never let anyone invest for you. Never keep all your crypto on one or even two exchanges. Never keep all your crypto on one cold wallet. Never press on any links. Many people, many scammers pretend to be me or other big influencers out there. Do not believe this BS. Basically, just simply block these people. Many people pretend to be representative of certain exchanges and send you links saying, here, press this and some blah, blah, blah. Do not do that. Stay away from nets, nodes, basically anything to do with returning your interest. If you're basically in a position where you relinquish your crypto to someone, you have to be aware of the fact that you might never get it back, right? That's why I never do anything in terms of interest, right? You should be able to control every single coin that you have. It should be at your disposal, or at least most of it, right? I understand that very often we have to have coins on exchanges for some time, and certain things happen. Unfortunately, people get hacked, but there's nothing you can do about it. That's why you have these rules. But once again, make sure to stay away from pressing any links. Make sure to not keep all your crypto in one place. I would also recommend not talking about it. Like, I'm already a public person, but sometimes I wish I hadn't done that because safety again, right? So I would not publicly even advertise if you have crypto, especially if you have a lot of crypto. Keep it to yourself, and just stay safe out there, guys. Don't talk to strangers online that you don't know. Yeah, and I think that's pretty much it. Once again, stay away from any shady investment opportunities and anything to do with interest, right? I know that there are many, like I keep getting offers. There are certain companies reaching out and saying like that they're willing to pay 20, 30K if I will advertise them. And it's basically, once again, all interest, right? So you basically get interest on your crypto. I could easily do that, but once again, I would not do that because rules are rules. That means you relinquish your crypto to someone, and that means that potentially you will never get it back. Like, no matter what they say, no matter how great the idea is, it's very simple. If I don't control my crypto, that's it. Right? So if it's not under my control, it's not in my control, I don't touch it. And I recommend you do the same. Stay safe. Make sure basically that you don't get hacked. Unfortunately, people do get hacked. As you know, even one of my crypto exchanges was hacked. And I've been very careful. I am a very careful person. I'm very diligent with safety, and thank goodness I have the rules that I have, because if I didn't, a lot more money would have been gone, right? So you have to be careful. And trust me, the scammers and the hackers are getting very smart, and they're evolving, and they're always finding new ways to basically scam us out of our money. So be careful, guys. So just, generally, after a 55% Bitcoin crash, be optimistic. Remember that bear markets end, the way I see it, bear markets are accumulation phases, so accumulation phases end. It will not go on forever. Every single bull market ends, every single bear market ends. So this is not an excellent opportunity to buy and hold, and later on dollar cost average at new lows without trying to catch the bottom. Then wait for a reversal, wait for the market to start climbing, and start taking profits when it's time to start taking profits a few years down the line when the cycle is coming to its end again. All right. Thank you very much, guys. Appreciate you. Please put a like. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.